Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be the do's and don'ts video. You guys actually chose this video by using this poll right here over in the community section. So, let's get started into the do's and don'ts. I will start with the do's. I have my notepad right over here, so I'll be checking for notes. I got a lot of notes written down for it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So number one, big do. Okay, you definitely want to do this, and you want to do this all throughout the course, right? Is you want to encourage the good barks, right? And what I mean by that is we're going to, every time we see a dog barking at something that we want it to bark at, every time we have a dog that is, you know, giving us a good chop that we like, we're going to praise for the good barks, right? And this is going to be kind of flipped over on the don't side too, so don't get too out of yourself and just praise for you know, barks all over the place. But praising for the good barks that we want builds a really good foundation and really good groundwork to let the dog know from a very early time that it is going to go ahead and give us the barks that we want when we want it, and it knows that it's okay. We have no walls to climb, no issues to resolve before we get those barks. So praise for the good barks is tip number one. Tip number two is going to be encourage the chewing, encourage the mouthing, and encourage the tug of war play. So if any time that we have a scent drag, anytime that we have a dead coon, anytime that we have anything that we want this dog to be able to basically eviscerate at some point, we need to praise and encourage and nurture that, right? Okay, so we want them to tear up their toy. We want them to shred that coon. We want them to chew on it. We want them to get their mouth on it and know that it's okay for them to do that, and actually that you want them to do this, right? This will help build a lot of drive, and this will help build confidence and courage that when they do get a hold of one, that they will go ahead and grab a hold of it, right? It makes all the difference in the world, whether a dog will get in there and get it done versus a dog that will say, I still don't want to chew on that thing, right? This could mean the difference of the coon not going up the tree. This could mean the difference of the coon getting the better of your dog. So we always want to praise and encourage the chewing and the tug of war, and, you know, keeping that intensity up with that scent and that smell. Okay, so number three here is going to be ignore and don't acknowledge. Okay, I know this seems counterproductive and counterintuitive, but silence can be your best friend at a lot of different times and a lot of different moments in training, right? Where our silence can go tremendously farther than talking or, you know, kind of not paying attention. Just sit back, chill, hush, and let your dog work and pay attention, right? Because if we're running our yapper and the dog's out here doing something, we're going to miss when it does it right. We're going to miss things that it's doing wrong. And also, we're never going to give the dog a chance to think on its own without pressure or without us muddying up its brain. So sometimes just sitting back and being quiet and watching what your dog is going to do is the best choice. So we need to pick our times, and silence can go a very long time. I mean, I've literally sat in silence with a dog that is stuck on a track for, you know, over an hour, and just sat in there with them and let them work it and work it and work it till they worked it out. And it's just your presence being there goes a long way. You just being patient and being quiet goes a long ways. So definitely want to ignore and don't acknowledge, especially in woods time. We want to act like that dog's not there. We're not going to pet. We're not going to praise. We're not going to anything. It's zip our lip and don't even look at the dog. If it comes over, jumps on you, just push it off and look away. This goes a very long ways when it is communicated to the dog, like, hey, get away from me. I don't want to do with you. Go over there and go find something to smell. Go over there and run off. I want you. I'm not going to play with you. I'm not going to keep you here. I'm not going to keep calling you. I'm not going to keep talking to you. So silence goes a huge distance. Okay. So another thing here, I guess I put the two together because that's the next one on the list, was the silence and the patience. So I guess we'll put all three of those together: ignore and don't acknowledge, apply silence and patience, right? So here's another big do. This is a thing that you want to do almost every single time you even go in the woods. Prior to going to the woods, whether you're training, whether you're not training, you want to prepare your training in advance. Okay, so you want to think it out fully and completely. You want to try to go over the checklists of things that might go wrong and the checklist of things that might go right, and then have answers if it does this and it does that, right? All these things kind of work hand in hand, and they mesh together, and they make a good, cogwheel to keep you kind of flowing and keep your energy up, and keep you being in control of all your situations. So pre-thinking and pre-planning, like if we want to train a day, we know, okay, so we have the trap, we have to get the trap out there, we have to have our lines in place to pull it up and down the tree, we have to have the dog not be aware of this or be aware of this, we have to pick out certain places in the yard. Okay, well, I'm going to run a drag here to this tree, I'm going to run a drag here to that tree, I am going to run the coon up and down this tree, I'm going to cut my dog here, I'm going to tie it back here. So having all these answers and pre-planning and pre-thinking, I'm going to drop the dog in this cut, I'm going to drop the dog at that cut, I'm going to drop the dog at this end of the drive, that end of the drive, this pull in, this pull out, and we're going to leave here and we're going to leave there. Like having all this stuff kind of pre-planned out and pre-thought is definitely a huge benefit. It goes a long way. It gives you less headaches. It gives you less surprises, less things that we have to adapt and make up on the fly. And what happens, there's nothing wrong with making things up on the fly, but what can happen is, what we'll do is we'll make something up on the fly, get it done, and then we'll go sit in the house after we're done and go, oh man, I shouldn't have done that because now this, I shouldn't have done that because I didn't get what I was really trying to get, or I missed this thing while we were training. But having all these things pre-planned definitely goes a huge distance. All right, so another thing here is we're going to predetermine our actions. Now, I've said this in other videos. I've said pretty much some form of all of these in one of my videos or the other. Okay, so predetermining our actions. It's not the same as pre-thinking, right? So we're predetermining what we're going to pivot to. It's predetermining where we're going to go to, right? So the dog does this, we do that. It's the predetermining actions and predetermining factors for us. We're not going to praise until I see this today. We're not going to leave until I know this is happening. We are not going to, anything out there that you can think of that you're going to need as an action, even down to your discipline, even down to your scolding, even down to any of that. Okay, maybe I'm going to go out and I'm going to train today, but I'm not going to scold about any of these things. I just want to remedy this one issue, because we have training sessions that go both ways, right? They go on the way to further on, and they go to the way to kind of, break them off of doing things. And we need to, pay attention and pre-plan and predetermine and pre-think everything about what we're doing, because we will just get so much more farther and so much better results. Okay, so the next one here is going to be backup plans, okay? And we're going to need backup plans, and we're going to need our next step already lined up. Okay, so we need backup plans to revert to. If we say, okay, my dog's ready for this today, I'm going to take him out in the woods, and he's going to do this, right? And it doesn't work that way. We need a backup plan that we can revert to. That way we're not wasting a trip, we're not wasting gas, we're not wasting effort, we're not wasting all this pre-thought and all these things and all these predetermined actions. We need a backup plan to pivot to if things go awry or don't go the way that we feel that they need to be going. And these don't need to be super duper complicated, any of this. We just need to have a nice short little checklist in our head that we're not going to forget, that we're not going to divert from, and know that, okay, I can pivot to this, and this will get me back at least to the halfway point of what I wanted to do today, because he's not showing me what I want him to do. And then we also need to go have the next step ready to go, because the last thing that you want to do is have a pre-planned thing. You get out here and the dog just performs and does the absolute best that it can do, and you're going, oh my gosh, well, now I gotta go put him up. He just did so great on this. Now I'm just done. It's really good to just not lose momentum, right? So this is another tip that I didn't write down. I just remembered it right here. But we need to pay attention when building momentum in training is able to be done, because if we can build momentum in training, it will skyrocket you light years. And we can't build momentum if we don't have the next thing planned. Okay, so maybe we know, I took the dog in the woods, he made it to a tree, but he's not barking so much. All right, so when I come back to the house, I am going to work him on the tree extensively hard and then get him right in the woods, and hopefully he'll tree up. But since the tree work is there, it will encourage him to go ahead and light up on that tree a little bit harder. Now, there's things like this that we can do and pre-plan and have our next step planning. Okay, I need to do this before I get here. I want to be here, but I got to do this, this, and this. But my goal is here. So we're pre-planning, back planning, forward planning, and we're always trying to pivot in a direction that builds good momentum. And some training, right? So some training, we want to stop momentum, right? So we need to understand when to build momentum and when not to allow the momentum, right? Because building momentum, don't get me wrong, is a great benefit. Like, this is something that we definitely want to do. But we do not want to accidentally build momentum and send the dog on the wrong foot, right? So we want to make sure that we're getting key things first and then build the momentum off of that. And if we're getting something and we're going, this might be a little bit shaky for him, we're not going to go ahead and build momentum on this. We're going to address this and clear this up and then build momentum off of a good note, off of a good foot. Now, keeping your training on a good foots and good notes is going to just skyrocket and launch your training and launch your dog in the right direction. Okay, so another one here is don't expect a result. All right, so expecting a result out of a dog, no matter what level in training that they are at, if they are just not going to do it that day, or they're not going to show you this that day, we have to just accept that, right? So we have to accept the result that the dog is producing. And the why I say this, I know it can be infuriating, it can be frustrating when a dog is doing something well and then all of a sudden it doesn't do it well. Or we're expecting a dog that, oh, we're building a little bit of momentum here, let's go ahead and launch on, but then it fouls up. We cannot take away the fact that the dog's already done good things, and when we expect things, it causes us more frustration, and frustrated and being mad or being angry or being let down causes you not to think clearly, lose track of your list and your pre-plans and your pivots and all this groundwork and all these things that we do beforehand, okay? So another thing here I'm going to put in here is going to be live in the moment, right? So live in the moment and kind of soak it in, okay? So we need to be very present. We need to be very in tune with what is going on with our dog while we are training it, okay? And when we're in tune and we're in the moment, then we are picking up on so many subtle things that we wouldn't normally pick up on if we were busy on our phone, or we were busy chatting, or we're busy thinking about some other stuff. We need to stay focused. We need to stay, on point. This is for us. We need to stay in gear, and we need to be able to jump into action and correct things, and we need to be able to jump to action and stop certain situations, pray certain situations. We need to be very mobile and very fluent in the moment when we are training, because all in all, the more present and the more in the moment that you are when you're having a training session with a dog, cage work, drags, whatever the case may be, the better that anything that you teach that dog is going to get communicated, because you're paying more attention to the subject and to the situation, right? So another thing here too, and I've said it almost in every video that I've talked about, is amp the dog up. This will take you places in training and jump leaps and jump bounds if you can get a dog to where it can be amped up. And what I mean by amped up, okay, so we did our silence, we did our patience, and we watch the dog and he goes, yep, yep, yep. Yeah, he's not giving you very much, but that's just the dog's natural reaction, okay? If we have a dog that is just, yep, yep, all right, and then we can get in there and we can go, talk to him, get on that tree, get him, whatever the case may be. However, we're going to use our words to translate to this dog to go ahead, bark a little bit harder, get on that tree a little bit harder, let her rip, do it. We need to be able to translate to that dog, and this is amping them up. And if you can take a dog from a little yip, or maybe one bark to chopping, right? So if we can take a dog from just a little bit to full-blown chopping, frothing at the mouth, just by encouraging them and amping them up, this is going to excel. Because once we get the dog amped up, and once they get locked into being, you know, straight chop mouth, once they get locked into straight treeing up hard, then it is so much easier, and it is so much easier to expect what the dog's going to do next. Oh, I've got him now. He's amped on that cage. He is tearing that cage up. When I pull that cage in that tree, I'm not going to have to sit around and ho-hum and beg this dog to get on that tree. I got him so amped up that if that cage even moves, he's going to turn it up 10 more notches. So amping up is a huge thing. And I'll tell you this. This is my biggest tip to myself, because prior to me actually sitting down and going through training, I believe I had trained, you know, I was on about my 5th dog. Okay, so I was on about my 5th dog when I discovered this trick. And this is about my 5th dog is when I discovered the leash the dog's back. And the results I got out of those dogs at a very young age by being able to amp them up and leashing them back and getting the barks that I wanted to get out of those dogs before I did anything else took me so much farther than I had ever gotten before. So this is one of the biggest tips that I use and I apply to myself almost exclusively on all dogs. I have it on Tilly, I've had it on Cash, I've had it on every dog that I've ever, you know, been in the woods with, man, and ever since then, right? But it took me 5 dogs to figure that out. So another thing here too is loads of praise and loads of pets, okay? So this one right here, I know it doesn't seem like it, but if you have a dog that you're, you know, on a companion with, or that they know you and they trust you, and you guys are kind of have like this buddy relationship, and you're pretty well bonded, praising that dog and petting that dog is going to just skyrocket your results, and they will skyrocket the results that you want. Okay, so if we have a dog that we're just never happy for, we have a dog that we're always mad at, we have a dog that we're always just, you know, sitting around doing this kind of thing, well, he ain't doing nothing, I'm tired of this dog. If we have that kind of attitude, the dog's never going to do anything that we like, or it's never going to consistently do anything that we want it to do. And we'll have our arms crossed. Oh, he barked. Oh, I'm feeling way better about myself. He's barking his own track. Oh, he quit. I'm mad again. We do this kind of thing, we're never going to get to a point to where we can logically look at the dog and go, good boy, pet him up real good, you know, get him amped up, get him locked in. And we're never going to be able to secure that in that dog, and we're never going to be able to translate this permanence. So this is another thing here too, is we have to be able to translate the permanence of these things, right? So we want you to permanently do this. It's not a question, it's not an ask, it's not a be told. It is you permanently do this across all things. Because if we can't translate that permanence, then the dog is just going to do whatever it wants, and then every once in a while it'll do what we want. But if we can translate, like, this is your job, this is what you need to do, this is the thing that makes me the happiest when you do it, this is what you need to do. So translating permanence is another thing. Alright, so we are going to take a break. Just a reminder, guys, if you're in the market for a new tracking or a new training system, go on over to Dogtra.com and save yourself 5% off on a Dogtra product, $200 or more, by using promo code MELBROOK5. That is MELBROOK number 5, all uppercase letters. Use this promo code at checkout and save yourself 5% off a Dogtra product, $200 or more. Now let's get back to the video. Alright guys, so let's get back into it. Let's get back into the don't section of the video. Now the don'ts, you probably heard me say multitudes of these over all my videos because they're always a steadfast kind of thing. Okay, so we don't want to hush, and this goes with the first one of the do's, is we want to praise with good barks. We don't want to hush our dog if we can help it, especially before getting, you know, the dog tracking, opening on track, and before the dog actually gets some good tree work on it. Now after this, we can hush here or there. We can start kind of pushing that ball down to be quiet, you know. But if we do things in an expedited way, and we're doing things that we're supposed to do, we shouldn't have a dog that's too aggravating to bark here or there. Maybe you can hush it every once in a while. But for the most part, we're going to let this dog run its mouth until we start accomplishing some of these good barks, right? Because it's really hard to take a dog and have it completely trained to be quiet and then try to get it to bark. It works against itself, right? Now this one right here, it took me quite a few dogs to actually, break myself of being that you are not going to make a peep on my yard, okay? So when I learned, and I took a little bit of, took a lot of lumps on the chin with dogs and trying to get them to bark after that, and I just decided, okay, well, I'm just going to put up with it and I'm going to see where this takes me. And it took me and jumped me light years ahead, right? So hushing on the yard, if you absolutely don't have to have that dog quiet, let that dog do what it's doing. I mean, it takes so much out of training, and it takes so much effort to get these dogs to do these things. All right, so another thing here, we're going to do no scolding. All right, no scolding, no discipline, unless it's like absolutely must have when we are actively in training maneuvers, right? So if we're in training maneuvers, we have to cut that down to like nothing, because some dogs, if you discipline them or you scold them, they're just done. They don't want to train. They don't want to have fun. They don't want to have a good time. You've ruined it. It's over. You've ruined the vibe. Don't be a vibe kill. Don't scold your dog while you're trying to get things done that you need to get done ultimately. All right, so another thing here is going to be no accidents. All right, so this kind of goes hand in hand with the pre-planning thing. Accidents do happen, and accidents meaning, the dog gets hurt while training. The dog, and any of these things, and that's like the number one key thing there is if your dog gets hurt in a training action, in a training maneuver, on the tree, whatever the case may be, there's a pretty good chance that that dog is going to rethink the situation and not approach it with the same, vigor as it did the first time. And it may just put it off enough to where you're not getting any results. And it might take quite a long time before the dog forgets about it actually getting hurt during doing this one thing. So it makes a bad taste in their mouth. So we don't want to, scold or have accidents, right? Okay, so here's a big one, is the leash goes a long ways, right? The leash goes a long ways in getting these first moments and these first startups to happen. But as time progresses, we need to not use the leash. We need to start deleting the leash in our trainings. We need to start deleting the leash as time goes on, as we get better results. And if we have a dog that is still kind of needing to be leashed to stay focused and still needing to be leashed to feel confident, that we need to make sure that we're handling that leash with the utmost care. We're not snapping the leash on the dog. We're not jerking the dog around and doing like that, because just the wrong, letting the dog get to the end of the leash and snap itself, right? Snap the tension out of the leash is enough to make the dog go, oh, okay, I don't do that, right? Because I've been snapped with the leash. It's very easy to translate the wrong message while we're in training just by simple snapping or jerking the dog around, because this is all leads into like leash training, and it all leads into all these things. So we need to make sure that we're having a good mindful hand on our leash if we are using a leash, and we need to be using the leash to our advantage, not to the dog's disadvantage, because every other situation besides training, not besides training, but besides every other situation besides actively coon training, okay, so I'll say it that way because we do have leash training that's separate, but besides actively training for coons, we need to use the leash in the dog's benefit, okay? So we need to keep nice, good tension on it, even steady pressure. We need to give the dog free will to take the slack and kind of cushion the blow so it's not getting snapped around, and we need to be, just nice and caring on the leash, and we need to start deleting the leash. All right, so that's a big, huge key is, use less leash if possible. Okay, so another thing here is we need to make a distinct difference or a distinct switch. If we're having a house dog, coonhound in a house, and we want to train it to hunt, we need to make a very distinct translation to the dog that inside rules and outside rules are different. Right? And we don't need to be using outside rules inside and inside rules outside. There has to always be a clear cut. If we go from the house to outside, it's about business. If you go from outside to inside, it's about house time. Same thing for play. Okay, so some dogs they'll play themselves into being serious. All right, and I'll say that. Other dogs will have to play a long time to wear it off and then go out and do work. Other dogs play and work at the same time. But we need to make a clear cut between the two. We're not playing, we're working. Right? We need to make that very clear. If we're getting kind of playing behaviors while we're training, we need to shut it down. If we're getting, I'm about business behaviors, we need to amp it up. We need to praise for it. And we need to distinctly translate to the dog that these rules and these behaviors are completely separate. They're different time, different place. But just by being consistent and staying on track and making sure that we're making clear divides between everything, then we can start dividing up into the kennel. Like, okay, you're in the kennel, this is this set of rules for the kennel, this set of rules for out of the kennel, this set of rules while we're in the woods, this set of rules while we're in the house, this set of rules while we're in the dog box. And we need to make very clear and distinct lines and differences between these sets of rules. All right, because we can have the same set of rules in the kennel as we do the dog box. And we can get worked around to where we have a dog that knows its place everywhere it kind of goes, right? But we want to make sure that we're separating those things. The next one here is going to be don't feed, okay? Now, not every single solitary dog is going to get you a higher percentage yield on your training efforts if you don't feed, okay? Most of the time when a hound does not eat prior to training, their food drives up, their scent drives up, they're just looking, right? And this is one thing that Cousin Boog, I'll throw a shout out for him again here. Cousin Boog said, "Why would you go look for dinner if you already ate?" And that is kind of that in a nutshell. And not to mention the health side effects that go along with hunting on a full belly for a coonhound. Okay, so I've said that, I covered that in my feed video. You guys should know that if you've been around on the channel. Okay, so another thing here is we're not going to rush. We're not going to rush and we're not going to force it. Okay, you cannot rush a dog and you cannot force a dog to do anything, right? Forcing a dog to do something, you're just going to, chop your feet off before you even get to walking, kind of situation there. We cannot force anything. And we cannot rush it, right? We can't expect the dog to be faster than it's capable of being at this moment in time, especially when we're starting and training on these dogs. Okay, so another one here is going to be don't forget, right? Do not forget what you've done, where you've been, how you've done it, your dog, what it's done, how it's done it, what performance issues that it has, what issues does it excel at. We can't forget these things. We have to always keep these in mind when we're setting up training, because if we set a dog up that is a poor performance level in this certain aspect and we make it extremely hard and it's poor performance level, we're going to get bad results. Instead of taking it the easiest path and then kind of getting it to build itself into these harder things that it's having issues with, right? So don't forget what has been going on in your training. Okay, so another thing here is do not praise too early. Hugest thing, the biggest mistake, I had that in my mistakes video, the biggest mistake people make, biggest mistake that I have made when training dogs is praising too early. Now, I don't need to sit here, I think everybody on the channel that has watched this and explain and go into too much in depth here about why praising too early causes issues, right? So praising too early causes these severe issues where the dog is constantly shortchanging you, right? The dog is constantly shortchanging you, but you can't fix it because you've praised for it and you continue to praise for it. So you're constantly getting shortchanged because you're shortchanging the praise, and it just causes this pickle that you get in, this dilemma where you're just, up against the wall. You can't do nothing to fix it. You can't do nothing to change it. And maybe the dog gets that one good praise out of you and you praise too early, and then it just will not further on. It won't click oh, this is just what I'm going to do. This is just what I'm going to do because this is what I got to be praised for. It won't make the next step to get, the next praise. So we need to not praise too early. But that is going to wrap up the do's and don'ts video. If you guys have liked this video and you've been in here for the past 30 minutes, get down there and hit a like and a subscribe on the channel for me. I would greatly appreciate it. I got some shout outs to go over. And before we got some shout outs to go over, I want to bring up the polls post. Okay, so I got these posts right here. All right, these posts in the community. Big percentage of walker guys. What a surprise. Yeah, love walker dogs. Ran them for a very long time. So I don't knock walker dogs. I don't knock blue dogs, English dogs, cattle. It doesn't matter. I don't knock a dog because I know there's probably one out there that's going to slam something up a tree for me real quick. So, I'm not against any of those things. We're going to be doing a lot more of these polls. We're going to be doing a lot more of these questionnaires. We're going to be doing a lot more posts in the community to get this community popping and get this, this ball rolling and get some more stuff. I was greatly appreciative that you guys got on there and actually casted votes. So keep on doing that. Greatly appreciative that you guys got on there and selected this video. It actually turned out to be almost longer than some of my podcast videos. But thank you very much for selecting that. It really makes me know where I want to, hammer down at and put a lot of effort in when I know what you guys want to see. So you guys need to be leaving comments under my videos and suggestions so I can get a good idea of where we're heading with this thing. Another thing here is we have the shout outs. Okay, so let's jump into the shout outs. First shout out is going to go to Jeff Jackson. All right, Jeff Jackson, me and you have kind of been emailing back and forth for quite a while now. And we had, I gave you advice here and I gave you advice there. And you're always coming and asking questions. And you're being very honest about you. And you're being very honest about your dog and how things are playing out. And this is the best way that I can give you the best advice. And congratulations, your dog has treed its first coon, and I'm glad to be a part of that. I'm glad that I've helped you out. You're a rock star, dude. Thanks for sticking around and coming in and checking out the videos and taking advice and applying it the way you needed to. Get your dog to that tree. That is awesome. A lot of work to be done, so don't start slacking off now, man. But I greatly appreciate it. All right, so another one here is going to be T Champion. T Champion, you have been around for quite a while. You got me on Facebook. You made Facebook message me, told me to check out your shorts. Well, I check out your shorts, and I like what I see, dude. That is great. I think that the level of being able to get multiple dogs, multiple breeds of dogs, and multiple, facets of training locked into all these different dogs is definitely a talent, right? It's definitely a talent that you have to develop, and you're doing pretty good at it. You got quite a few of them over there. You told me you're getting another one. So, hey, man, I'm here for you. I posted you in the community. I want everybody to know and share around, and we're going to just, all pat each other on the back for doing good jobs and having good things. So, you know what? Shout out to you, man. Another one here. Always, Mike Parr, you're on like every video, man. I should put like a little tag down here that just permanently says Mike Parr. Shout out for Mike Parr in every one of my videos. Same thing for Kurt. I haven't heard from Kurt in a while, but Kurt, you too, man. You two have been there for since day one, and Mike Humphreys. All you guys have been very supportive, and this has definitely locked me in and laser focused me in on this and understanding that there are people out there that are listening to these videos, that are taking the time and making the effort to pay attention and to apply these things in the correct ways. And, just shout out to you guys, man. Here's another shout out. Here is going to be Mikey D. Talk to him. That's right, buddy. That is right. He commented, talk to him on my short that I posted. That short is going in the intro video, which you guys already seen that. I decided to make it into a short. Now, why I like making that into a short, okay, so number one, let's say I got Tilly on there. Tilly is my squirrel dog, right? And I've been working on her and getting her, and one of her biggest chinks in her armor was the tree work. She just wouldn't do it. And then I finally got her to go, and that just turned out phenomenal. Tilly has actually, I'll just spoil it here, she has actually treed up 2 squirrels. All right, she has treed up 2 squirrels on her complete own. They were super duper easy squirrels. I didn't let her see them. I didn't find them for her. She found them on her own, and she went for it, and she treated them. Just a couple little barks. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm in a kind of special predicament here with her, and that is that training season is shut down until July. Like, I can't get in the woods with the dog until July, which just really grinds my gears. Private land, I got to get some private land back and get her out there. I can get some work done on private land. I got the leaves on. I got a lot of things working against me. One benefit that I do have is I have a forest over here that is open to the public, and I just take her and walk her in there, and that's how we've been kind of trying to get the ball rolling with her. But just the other day, like yesterday, she actually went and treed too. They weren't like back to back, or she wasn't running 100 miles in the woods, but she got out there and she did it. So I'm expecting her to go take it to the next level. And I have Cash on there. Cash is the dog that started this channel. Why I started the channel, started doing the coon hunting stuff. So Cash was a phenomenal dog. He still is a phenomenal dog. I've heard great things of him over there from my buddy Corey. He has been doing great. Might be doing some hunting with him coming up, and see how things are turning out over there. But Cash is on there, and Cash is where I kind of really just streamlined the process as best as I could and applied all the things that I share with you guys, and talk to him was one of the things that I could get that dog so amped up. Like the unbelievable on the drive on that dog that was kind of, you know, nurtured out of talk to him with that dog is something that really just ran that home for me. So yeah, talk to him for sure, man. And then Duke is that little walker dog that's in that video. He's training the squirrel. Okay, so Duke was a dog that I bought a brother and a sister of. I don't have any videos of the sister, but I did the training where I trained both of them, and his sister was right along there. Duke was just so excelling at that point. After that, that has been so long ago, but after that video of him training that squirrel, of course I used to talk to him, but that dog was latched onto that squirrel so hard, I almost had to get a stick to break it out of his jaws. I mean, at 3 months old, that's how old he was in that picture, and we was slamming that tree, and he was staying put on that tree. He was not getting rid of that dog. I mean, the most gritty, the most drive dog that I have ever owned was that puppy, and he was 3 months old. I mean, he was biting tails off chickens. That dog was just another level intense, and he wasn't even a papered dog. I paid $50 for him and his sister together. So I paid $25 for that dog. And after that night, he was 3 months old. I took him hunting that night, and he treed up at 3 months old. But he treed up on a squirrel tree. I shined up in there, and there was a squirrel nest up in there. But he treed up at 3 months old, and I was just blown away by this. Ended up having to, you know, get part with that dog. But just phenomenal dog at 3 months old. It was crazy. Okay, so the two pups that were treeing on the cages there, that was Chopper, plot hound that I gotten, I believe from Majestic Plot Hounds, or something like that, over, I believe, in Brooklyn, Michigan. But he was a world champion bred, a world champion line bred, so he was line bred off a world champion plot. I believe he was like a great grandpup or a grandpup to a world champ plot dog. That dog right there, him and that blue tick puppy, so that was a hammer bred blue tick pup that my buddy had, and they were the exact same age, right? They were only like a couple days apart on their birthdays, but they were exact same age, and those two puppies were actually 3 months old there as well, and that was a cage with a live coon in it, and they were burning it up. We had ran drags for them. They were lighting that cage up. We got a lot of tree work on them, and we actually took those two puppies and we cut the coon out for them, and this is they baited over in some grass, and we ended up having to go over there and dispatch it because the puppies weren't big enough to get it pushed, and we just had to go over there and cut that short. And we got another one, we cut it loose, and we botched that release, and the coon just went up a tree 2 feet in, and it was just like all these things kind of worked against us for that. I ended up getting rid of that plot hound puppy to the buddy that had the blue tick dog, and you know, all in all, we kind of just there's some of them dogs that are in that video. Another picture in there is Cash treeing up. That was him treeing up on his cage. One of them. Another one was him treeing his first coon. A picture of him. I don't know if I have it in the intro video, but you know, that's kind of the dogs that I've dealt with and I've worked with, and them are some very key dogs to me in applying the things that I'm teaching you guys at very young ages, right? Very young ages. I think the videos of Cash, one at the oldest, he was right at a year old when he treated his first, but I laid him up for 6 months. But the other video of him is him at 4 months old, right? And that's him working and training a cage that I ran drags for him. So it was a 4-month-old video, and it was like a year-old video. And so all these dogs, until he's only 4 months old, so all them dogs are packed in on that intro video are all dogs that I have started and that I have gotten, you know, good tree work on and good results out of pre 6 months old. And so, you know, Mikey D, shout out to you. But we're going to wrap the video up there, guys. This is a 40-minute long video. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for checking things out. Keep them treated.